Was there ever a moment when she was musically more successful than you that you wished that you had that, or were you just always happy for her?
I've always just, plugged away with what I've done, and I've not compared myself to her as much as I haven't compared myself to other artists. And I always felt that when people said, oh, you're not as successful as your sister, I said, but I'm also not as successful as Christina Aguilera or this one or that one. Just, you got to compare yourself to everyone then. That's work, and my relationship with Kylie is not work. That's completely private, and we don't talk about work when we're at home. There's some records that I have believed in of my own that I wished had done better, but, that's entertainment. You just got to put it out there and see what happens.
In terms of your life now, if I'd have interviewed you a year ago, I think I'd have had some very different answers than I'm having today, because so much has happened since you found love, you've had a baby, and the TV show, for good and bad reasons, has made you one of the biggest stars in the country in terms of PR. Where's the priority now? Is it family first and the TV show second? Because if you read the papers today and yesterday and the day before that, you would think that X Factor would be foremost on your mind.
I think it's striking a balance, and it doesn't matter if you work in the entertainment industry or you have a normal job, as people say. It's just being a parent is striking that balance, because you want to be at home with them, but I'm in a job that I love, and so I also want to be doing that. And I've got to juggle, and I guess between now and Christmas, being a new mum and having a newborn, that's going to be the toughest time to juggle all of that out.
I'm looking at your eyes. A, they're beautiful, but B, there's no bags under them. How are you managing to be the only mum in the world that hasn't got bags under your eyes?
Makeup. They're definitely there, I can tell you.
How's the baby doing? I mean, how much sleep are you getting on the average night?
He wakes up once in the night, and I'm told, because I don't know any differently what it's supposed to be, I'm told that's very, very good. For a 3-month-old, it could be a lot worse, and that's fine. I'm just getting used to surviving on less sleep.
Is there any way of describing the fact that he needs you more than words can explain, and that you've got to be there for him?
Yeah, I mean, it just takes over every cell in your body. You do anything to look after them, protect them, and just give them love. That's all it's about. And I guess you reminisce on, how, for me, how brilliant my parents have been over the years, and you always think, oh, did I put my parents through any strain? There's going to be payback now. And whenever Chris tells me a story like he was naughty and he did this and that, I said, boy, are you going to get payback from Ethan?
And in terms of the lessons you've learnt that you're going to do differently, is there anything that you're going to do different with your little boy?
I don't know. There's no manual to this, being a parent. I really don't know what's going to happen. I just think as much love and support and time, and that's, as I said, that's the thing I'm going to have to juggle, because this job is quite time consuming. When you go to work, it's not going to work at 9 and coming back at 5, it's going to work at maybe 10 and coming back at midnight. So it's a little bit hard, and he'll have to come to set with me. But I believe he might have his own dressing room with a little star out the front.
And would you like a showbiz future for him, or would you be happy for him to work in Tesco's or something?
Whatever it is that makes him happy. And I was kind of lucky with my parents when I said I wanted to do this. They did not want either of us to go into showbiz. And they kind of kept trying to talk us out of it, but that's just the thing that made us happy. So in the end they said, well, if that's what you want to do, it makes you happy, then we want you to do that. But I think he might, for all the signs that I'm looking at the moment, he might end up in sports, because all he does is kick. From since he was in my belly to now, strong legs. He hasn't even started to crawl yet, but he's almost standing. So I think sports will be his forte. All right.
We're going to finish by talking about X Factor and all the stuff that goes around it, because everybody wants to talk about this. Chloe Mafia is something that I've been very curious about, because obviously I'm broadcasting currently at Leeds. Chloe Mafia is in the papers for all the wrong reasons. I just wanted your take on your responsibility as X Factor and the bigger picture around that, because even on today's front pages, people take this so personally. Do you worry at night about the effect you could have on their life when it all goes wrong if they don't win?
You know what? It's hard. Everybody wants the chance to have a big career. And I think the great thing that Simon has done is put judges on the panel who are performers, who've auditioned, who've had people say no to them, who've taken the knockbacks. And that's what I use in my mentoring. That's why I think very hard and very clearly when I'm giving a yes or a no to someone, and I spend every possible ounce of everything I've got to look after my contestants when I'm mentoring them. And I know it's a tough business, and if you're not prepared for someone to say no and you're not prepared for the tough days, honestly, don't sign up for this, because it is full on. This is the biggest show in the country. Everybody's watching. Everyone's going to have an opinion of what you do. And I've said to my contestants, you know, as much as I've gone for auditions, to stand up there on a Saturday night and have that judging panel judge that performance and then have to go back the next week and do it is tough. And I really, you know, commend them on it. But yeah, there's been a lot written about our decisions as judges from our judges' homes and who we've been taken to put into the live shows. And it's really tough. It was extra hard for me because I knew that I'd put all of these contestants on a plane. They'd travelled, you know, it takes about 24 hours to get to Australia. And if whoever I was saying no to had that long flight back. But, you know, we look after the contestants really well, and I can honestly speak because I grew up in the entertainment industry, and when I worked as a kid on TV shows, there were no rules as to the hours we worked. There were no guidelines. There was nothing there to protect us. We just went to normal schools. We didn't have tutors. We didn't have people ferrying us around. It was mum and dad who drove me to rehearsals, and there was nothing like there is now. I think it's all down to how they individually cope with it, and you never know how someone's going to cope. Somebody who you think could be shaky is suddenly got this amazing strength inside them. And I get upset when people say kids can't deal with it, but I think kids are often the most resilient ones, and it's the older category that sometimes needs a bit more care taken with them.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because you're making dreams, but you're also breaking them at the same time. And part
Thanks
of the reason.
Well,
but the reality is, part of the reason we watch is for that reason. Those uncomfortable moments are what makes X Factor and Britain's Got Talent so great, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but you know what? Like, if you came to any audition around the country, you know, for theatre shows, or if you were in any of those meetings where you walk into a record company and you say, "Here's my demos, listen to this," that's what it's like. You know, you put yourself out there and you ask someone for their opinion, and they're going to give it to you.
When you walk into a supermarket and you see the line of 10 newspapers and you're on the front of all of them, does that ever become normal?
Never. Absolutely never. I mean, particularly with X Factor, I feel like one part of a very big machine that's moving around, and it's incredible, the love for this show around the country. And the upset sometimes. I know that people have probably been throwing things at their TV sets this weekend watching the show, but it really is a great show to be a part of, and I missed it not being there for auditions this year when I was off having my baby. I really did miss it.
Of course, the whole Sharon Osbourne saga has kicked in again with writing the book. It was in all the papers the other week, and she's come out and said things, and her daughter's said things. In the bigger picture, is this all great PR, or are you really hurt by it? Because she said some pretty offensive things. You kept dignity throughout. You've now written about it in the book. How are you about all that?
It's pretty funny because I'm just not somebody that likes arguments or likes fighting, so I never got involved from the beginning. I didn't know what it was that I'd done to upset her. I was never given an answer. I still haven't had an answer, so I just wasn't involved in this fight that was carrying on without me. It was very, very weird. It was important for me to write about it in the book, and I've written about one incident in a lot of detail, but there's other incidents that I haven't written about. I could have been nasty, but I wasn't. I just chose one.
Well, that incident you talk about, I think, is the one where she came into the dressing room just before you were going on and said some terrible things and made you cry, knowing that your big debut was about to happen on the UK's most watched TV programme.
I mean, I wouldn't have done it to anyone else, and if there was any problem, there was a million other moments to sort it out. It was also my birthday, which was hilarious. So as this whole situation is taking place, the room's surrounded by flowers and birthday cards and all of that. I mean, I can only laugh at it now, and I wish that she would laugh at how ridiculous it got, and that it would just be something that's in the past. But yeah, I mean, it was hard because not only did I have to deal with what was being thrown at me. But then I had to deal with the fact that people thought I was cold and icy, and Louis didn't get on with me. He thought that I was very icy and, wouldn't react to anything. And I just said to him, I didn't want to get into a fight. It's just not my nature. So yeah, I'm glad it's in the past.
She came back, didn't she, the other week to do some of the auditions with Louis. Is that more game playing on the producer's part to kind of bring that all back in the press? Because, I mean, it is a game, isn't it? Unfortunately, there are real lives involved.
I think it was just the fact that Louis is really good friends with her and wanted her to be there. And I think she's been a brilliant part of the show. And I used to watch the show as a fan before I joined it, and I loved her on it. I absolutely loved Sharon Osbourne on it. So I think that it's their friendship, and I thought that was brilliant that he had her there. Didn't have a problem with that at all. And I think, it's got everybody talking about the show, and that's what I guess the producers want. But I think she was literally there because she's friends with him.
Could you put everything behind you now and sit next to her on a couch again on that show or another show, or are you done?
With bodyguards.
Very finally, I mean, you were born showbiz and you're living the showbiz dream now. Could you imagine your life without this, without doing what you do best?
I can't imagine my life without this now. It's what I love, and it's the whole madness, and you constantly, have that nervous butterflies about everything that you do. As you said before, as judges, we're being judged as well. But I actually really like that. That's sort of gives me my buzz. So I can't imagine not doing this. And
in terms of your guys this year, are you going to win?
I think there's a good feeling for Team Minogue, a very good feeling. I've got the bookies' favourite, Matt, and we'll see. It's a long race. I say to these guys, hang in there, because every week you've got to fight it out. And
we need to wish Louis luck as well with his clan. I mean, what a mixed bunch of characters they are.
Yeah, Louis really got an interesting mix there. But I don't underestimate anyone in the first rounds. It's a long race, and we'll see what happens.
It's been a real honour meeting you, and thank you so much for talking to me. Good luck with the new book. It's out now, and it really does shed a lot of light on a lot of stuff that's written in the papers, because that must be the worst thing for you at this point. You're one of the most high-profile people, but often you don't have a right to reply, to say, actually, no, that's not true, and no, that never happened.
Yeah, I guess, especially with stuff in the past. I mean, it's only recently that I've got onto Twitter, which I really love because it gives you such a direct link to your fans. And often they ask me questions, is this true or is it not true? And I can just answer them direct. And for me, that's been really important to get direct to the fans and set the record straight. But over the years, you haven't been able to do that. So, yeah, it's been good to put it all in the book.
And very finally, of course, you've now got yourself a top fella, and he's delicious and gorgeous, and of course I'm deeply unattractive and on the larger side. There's no way you would ever be seen in public with a man like me, is there?
No. Why do you say that?
Oh, come on, look at this face.
Have you got a face for radio? Is that what they say?
Well, you're so opposite me. What do you think?
I did radio. I have a face for radio too.
Dannii Minogue, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you.